Okay, this is going to be a pretty decently long one. So before I even get started, I'm writing two different bills on the same subject. One is defending the licensing only. The reason why I did this is because I do not have full confidence in arguing for the ownership. There is an argument to be made, and it's a strong one, but there's also a lot of strong arguments against it. So I will have to do a lot more research, a lot more reading before I even can contemplate on how to make a regulation bill that says that we own it. And also you'll see that the definitions here, I do not know which definitions they are going to intend to use. So I will not be in the drafts of the bill, will not be putting definitions in, but these are important definitions to look at. And the reason being is because looking on the internet, and feel free to pause and look at the stuff I've written. I've already made a video on these. I've already explained all this. Oh, right here. And sorry, this is written in pencil. That doesn't matter. So if you notice, purchase definitions is what I was looking at. So I got one on dictionary.com, find law, vocabulary, Collins Dictionary. So they each say similar things, but they also say similarly different things to where it can be construed and defined in a way that can be manipulated. So I wrote several definitions of several definitions. So like buying, I got law dictionary, legal information, U.S. legal forms. So I just wrote several of them down. I have more to write. I have a few more to write. So I will not be reading definitions that you need to know, other than look it up yourself and try to define it the best you can. So in summary, this bill is to protect consumers/customers conducted business from corporation practices of taking digital products under a false notion of ownership. This bill is to lay clear the difference and separation between the consumer and the corporation, to settle the dispute over the license agreement, creating an understanding between physical and digital goods. A person, as an individual, unless wealthy enough to own a sizable share of a company through stock or other means, has very little say in the business dealings of a corporation. Even a boycott can be subsidized of any losses, so the purchase power of an individual is very limited and requires state/federal protection. Any license given to an individual should be upheld in perpetuity unless/until the individual's passing. In no uncertain terms should the individual lose any license that doesn't rely on the hosting network beyond the download. And I'm going to explain this a little later, because we'll just get to it when we get to it. So this is one of the definitions. Colocation is when companies place their hardware, servers, and data storage equipment in a space rented by a third-party data center provided. This tied with companies/entities have the legal definitions of a person, which helped the argument in the Citizen United v. FEC. The conclusion to take away is that each person is their own data center, especially when it comes to buying storage, buying a console, buying a personal computer, buying a phone, buying any hardware/device that can sustain its own data without needing a network host. The Impression Product Inc. v. Lexmark states, exhaustion is a distinct limit on the patent grant, which is triggered by the patentee's decision to give a patented item up for whatever fee it decides appropriate. So what I'm getting at is, because each corporation is considered a person, why can't each person be considered its own data center? It's because going off of colocation, we do have our own area that we allow a server, which would be the PlayStation, to hold data from Sony. So why can't we be considered each individual's data center? I mean, we all use water, we use energy to keep these servers active. So, and once the data is downloaded, we no longer need the hosting server. If we choose to cut off the internet right now, our games are still playable. So, it is a proven fact that the data transferred can be placed in a device forever. The only obstacle of this fact is the company putting limits on that option. Opting out by choice, not by necessity. Sony Entertainment PlayStation Systems has provided the evidence themselves, as the PlayStation Plus, newly bought years ago, work as intended. Examples. Number 1. If the game is downloaded as from the Plus system, the game can be played for a limited time offline until the time expires and becomes locked. Number 2. If the game is newly bought, there's a 15-day timer that in parentheses game, must be checked online until the 15 days are expired, or the temporary license will activate, and in 30 days it will be locked offline. If the game is bought and reaches the 15-day online check, then the permanent license replaces a temporary, and it can be played offline in perpetuity. The game that fits the description above is mostly designated as online play optional. This requires no reliability on the network host beyond the data transfer. And the reason why I put in parentheses mostly is because in the PlayStation's TOS that I've read, the description doesn't have to be correct, which means they are legally able to lie to you to your face. And I have seen it firsthand. There's a game, let me see if I can look it up real quick. I'll go ahead and put it up here. They're going to bring up Ace Combat, but that's not what I'm looking for. Fix yourself. There it is. Aces of Thunder. See that? It's right there. It says online play optional, but it isn't optional. You have to have an online network to be able to play this specific game. I actually got a refund because I felt like I was lied to, and I always test. Every time it says offline, I always put my PlayStation offline to test to see if it is playable offline, and it wasn't. So this is 100% a lie. So they are legally able to lie, so that's why I put in parentheses mostly. There are such exceptions that cannot be ignored, and that's the shutdown of a hosting network, whether that's A, company of the hosting network goes bankrupt, B, can't afford to keep active of the hosting network, C, shifting in business, i.e. downsizing or not wanting to pay expense, D, mergers, E, other reasons that would cause disruption of the consumer. And in such cases, it cannot be required for a business to hold these licenses until the disruption matter is resolved. If it is temporary, no license should be dissolved, taken away, and would require notice to the consumer and put in parentheses government entity, because I don't know who would be looking into this, on how long the disruption will be. All licenses will be upheld and restored when the hosting network is optional, no matter if the corporation is under A, new management, B, under a new name, C, a change in venue, D, a rights dispute, E, new contracts, F, or any other circumstances, that is temporary. So, like, of course, the examples would be with PlayStation, with not only just Discovery, which they backtracked, which they were able to restore everyone's purchase power and licenses. But there was another deletion, I forgot which one it was, where they deleted 500 movies and no refunds are being given out. And that's the problem with writing this bill, and it's something to keep in mind. If this bill passes, it only protects after it passes, which means if they decide to take away stuff now, you will not be reimbursed, you will not be protected. So, writing this bill, keep that in mind. I do not have the money or even the energy to do a lawsuit. So if someone wants to do a lawsuit to make sure that refunds are given, in a class action lawsuit, unfortunately, I am personally undamaged by these decisions so far. So right now, I have no claim in the matter. So, however, if the disruption is permanent, then there must be advance notice with constant reminders of its closing date. The hosting network must also provide a way during the expiration period to download the license/data so that the consumer has ample opportunity to download the item purchased to have in perpetuity. The time allotted will be 180 days. I just threw a number out there. This number can be negotiated to be higher. Or if it's lower, I'll adjust the bottoms accordingly. Because, I'll get to that when I get to that. But, what was I going to say? Purchase to have in perpetuity. I would just go on. Hopefully that thought comes back. In case of such closures, the company must reveal to government entity, because I don't know who's investigating that, the financial situation. In such cases of unable to keep the hosting network active, for the 180 days, then the government will finance the hosting network for the designated time, only to keep the license active until the expiration date. And what I mean by that is they will only pay for the person that does the server maintenance as well as the server's activation until the 180 days is concluded. So it will not be paying any other expense of the business, only the server itself and whoever is maintaining that. Not the CEO, not the manager, whoever's maintaining that server and whatever is needed to pay for the server to be active, whether that's, has to pay for the small square land, not the whole land, the small square land that the server is laying on, and the electricity, and of course, whatever. Let's see. In such cases of unable to keep the hosting network active for the 180 days, then the government will finance the hosting network for the designated time, only to keep the license active until the expiration date, in which time the consumer must be allowed the privilege to download the data on a device that can connect to other devices to be accessible. And I think I need to add an addition to this because I am thinking about Apple and how they specifically only sell one type of wire. Of course, in Europe that's changed, but one type of wire for their phones, and then all their devices have to be specifically meant for Apple. There needs to be a universal hard drive that, of course, the hard drives I know can program itself, I guess. I don't know how exactly that works, where if you choose a computer, it programs itself to be a computer specific hard drive, or if it's PlayStation, it turns itself into a PlayStation specific hard drive. So it needs to be a universal hard drive that dead data can be downloaded. And during the 180-day grace period, the company holding all licensing data must give every single customer every month, once a month, every 30 days until the final day, a warning to get the data that was purchased onto a separate device or risk losing what was purchased on said account, either through email, during the access of the hosting network app, making sure that without a doubt the customer sees the warning. Now, I do see a problem with a little bit of this. Every 30 days until the final day, a warning to the... I think my problem is when I'm arguing for the ownership. I don't think the problem here. So what I was gonna say though is the problem being is I don't know who the... Oh no, that's later. Okay, we'll get to that. Blah, 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 blah. Ignore that. I have it. This part of the bill will discuss the transfer of licenses when the individual passes. Oh, this is it. Passes deceased. A blanket agreement between corporations who give/allows the license transfers to another through inheritance. There should always be a pathway to being able to pass down the generational history and not forgotten, as every era of song, game, movie, show, any digital content should be cherished beyond the individual. If proposal is accepted, then the life of the license will be 115 years or until the person is deceased. If the individual, in the will of a person who has passed, family wants to keep, close friend/mentor gets in possession of through being given, then the corporation must offer the chance of not losing the license through a very small fee. Per license, there will be a $2 fee to extend the license for another life, 115 years, or until the passing of the next individual. 20% will go to the hosting network for maintenance purposes of the data care. 20% will go to the corporation that owns the license. The last 60% will be split between all the developers in that corporation. This is the part I was going to talk about. So because the problem I see here, and this is why this is an extra add-on. I don't know if it'll stay here. I'll have to think about it a lot. But if you make purchases through the PlayStation app, like let's say I bought a movie on the Apple app on the PlayStation, does that, the little 20% will go to the hosting network, and then 20% will go to the corporation that owns the license? Actually, no, that doesn't work. Thinking about it now, yeah, that doesn't work because Apple still owns the license. So I argue that completely fine, I think. The only other problem I see though is how does one enforce this? Because as I continue here, this extension goes even beyond when the worker is no longer present at the company. If the person was/is a full-time worker and was a contributor to making the game, they will be included in the 60%. If the corporation no longer exists, then either, and then of course that's where I stopped. So yeah, that would be hard to keep track, I think. So I do have to think about this. But that's the bill I got so far. I did put an add-on. Digital entertainment is not just used for entertainment. When a corporation takes away digital goods, they do also take both a disability's income, their way of escaping from ailments. Oh, I forgot to scribble that out. A disability income, Social Security funds. B, escapism of their ailments. C, a form of psychiatry. D, a form of books. E, a form of music. F, a form of problem solving/thinking. G, a form of communication with the outside world, i.e. friends, family, strangers. H, the conveniences of bedridden. The problem with licenses being taken away is the corporation is affecting every form of customer, which, much like buildings need a standard code to have wheelchair accessibility, it should be the same with digital goods, as it isn't just entertainment purposes. And that should be it. Yeah. That's the last page. So that's what I got as far as an official draft of a licensing bill. And again, this one specifically is just to license the argument, license argument. The argument for ownership is much harder. I have to do a lot more reading, a lot more court cases to read, and then of course the added effect, which I'm hoping this spreads, is that if I were to give this to James Tallarico, then it has a chance to affect everybody. But if not, I could start trying to present it to my state, in which case it will only be a statewide law, and the rest of the states is kind of SOL. So every state needs to have an argument similar to mine, or find some way to write a better regulations of what I'm writing. I should not be doing this. I should be the last person doing this because I have a lot of disability problems. But as I watch people make YouTube videos, be outraged and, you know, talking about all the negativity stuff, they're not giving solutions. And I'm sick and tired of not being given solutions. So I decided to take it upon myself to write something to see how it works out. And of course, I'm doing a lot of reading and stuff, and it is affecting my ability to take care of myself because my brain power is very limited. I haven't been able to exercise in the last month and a half because I've been on this shit. It's hard. It's hard for me to multitask. I have to be focused. So when I focus on this, I can't exercise because it requires a lot of thinking, and I'm getting tired already. So that's what's going on. So I should be the last one doing this, but I'm doing it because I feel like I don't have a choice in the matter. So that's what I got so far. Let me know what y'all think. Is there anything you want me to add? Anything I should take away? Change the argument? I'm here to listen to everybody because once I present this, it's going to affect everybody, even if this thing loses, because it will affect decisions later.